Here you go. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Oh, hi, I'm Joe Cece, MLA for Calgary Buffalo. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Elder, for your great words, and as the MLA, as the alderman for Forest Lawn for 5 terms, I can tell you that I respect everything you do, and I respect Forest Lawn, and welcome the opportunity to continue to represent places like that. On behalf of Alberta's NDP, in the spirit of reconciliation, it's my honor to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, of the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani nations, of the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda nations. We acknowledge the Métis people and the Métis Nation of Region 3 and all of the people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. Thank you.
So, gentlemen, how are you both doing today?
Good. Yeah, I'm pretty good.
That's all.
No. Well, yeah, no, I'll just go to the notes then. I'm great. Yesterday, we launched a really exciting plan to bring jobs and vibrancy back into downtown Calgary, supporting the City of Calgary's own plan, and I'm excited today to nominate one of the people who's going to help us take Calgary. Rossman.
Well, I'm doing good. And for the last 3 years, Joe, Kathleen, and I have been Team Calgary. And we have been representing Calgary, people of Calgary in the legislature. And it also means that every time when Rachel will come to Calgary, we get to be part of the events, we get to be the part of pressers that Rachel holds in Calgary and be on TV. Some of my colleagues like Marlon Schmidt might describe it differently, but it was a huge honor. But I think we can get that team bigger than 3, and that's what we are gathered here for.
So you're absolutely right, friend. We need a lot more New Democrats here in Calgary.
Yes.
Sorry, this is like a puzzle up here. And I can see a room full of people who are here and ready to get that done.
Yeah. What? No. We're going to get started in just a minute, but first I need to settle something, an argument we've been having with Irfan all morning. Irfan, what's the argument?
Argument is basically Joe was saying that over the last 2 years, we have done everything through Zoom, and we may have forgotten how to cheer, how to chant, how to get together, but today's rally shows that no, we can still get together, and I'm pretty sure that we can prove to everyone that we still remember how to chant. So let's, I guess, find out. Kathleen, you can start.
You can start.
Hooray! So, is everybody ready? Okay, so we're going to start with a really easy one, an oldie but a goodie. NDP! 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 NDP!
NDP! That's not bad, that's not bad. I have another one, Wait. Let's find out if we're really, really ready. We're going to try one, and I say it all the time when we're going down the bike path, and it's a running path, and it's, Rachel, wait! No, don't say the wait. Just say, Rachel, 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 Rachel. That's not bad either.
I think we can do better than that. Rachel, Rachel. That's great. We can do another one. Rosman, 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 Rosman. Thank you. So we are here today to nominate a fantastic candidate, the next MLA for Calgary East, Rosman Valencia.
That's right, Irfan. And right after that, we're going to hear an exciting message from our leader and the next Premier of Alberta, Rachel Notley.
Thanks for that. And now we're going to get down to business and get our candidate nominated. Please join me in welcoming our nominators, Cesar Cala and Lucille Fedko.
This is awesome. This is great. How are you people? How are you feeling? Great. Lucille is our president of our local NDP EDA. A big hand. And I was the always fun candidate in 2019. So we're here to make sure that our work continues. So, the formal part. So it's great to see people here who believe that Alberta will have a better future when we put people and communities at the and governance. And this is what NDP stands for, people and communities. That should be at the core of the work that we do. Today we're also gathered to confirm a great addition to our already impressive roster of NDP candidates. Here in Calgary, Rosman Valencia to represent Calgary East. So with a name like Rosman, it's like a superhero name, right? Rosman, I'm here to the rescue, right? So let's talk about Calgary East for a while, because this gives a little bit of context why we need Rosman. You know, Calgary East has long suffered neglect from successive provincial governments. We saw this in the state of our schools, our public facilities, in the lack of investments in economic diversification, and in lack of support to the most vulnerable among us. But that started to change when we first elected an NDP government led by Rachel Notley in 2015. Remember that? We saw in Calgary East new investments in modernizing our schools, in programs that ensured that students were not hungry while they were in school, in the expansion of the local hospital, in the investments in rapid bus transits, and in actions to address issues of racism and discrimination. But these commitments were put on hold or even regressed when the UCP took power. Shame. But to be sure, you know, residents of Calgary East are not passive. They are resilient and strong, and we see this in the many volunteer efforts to help each other, in local businesses finding ways to survive the onslaught of the economic downturn and the pandemic, in individual and collective actions of kindness, like the many community pantries that sprouted up in Calgary East. So it is a vibrant community. All this in the absence of visible, meaningful, and sustained support from the provincial government. Rosman Valencia was a great part of our 2019 campaign. Together, we walked many kilometers and talked to thousands of residents. Despite having only 2 months for our campaign, Rosman and our volunteers, many of them are here today. Shout out to volunteers of our 2019, so the fight continues. We heard loud and clear the issues and concerns near and dear to residents in Calgary East. Jobs, not just for survival, but for building families and communities. Schools that give kids a great start for their future. support to families so they can get ahead, like affordable childcare, and safety nets for seniors and the most vulnerable, and also, of course, safe neighborhoods. These issues resonated with Rossman deep enough that he continued to advocate for them since we ended that campaign. Rossman, like many residents in Calgary East, worked his way and overcame many barriers. He is now a public school teacher. Woo! In fact, he started his teaching experience right here in Calgary East as a student teacher in Ian Bass and Erin Woods. He knows the power inherent in the things that we teach our kids and in the way we teach our kids. That is why he wants to stop the UCP unleashing their curriculum that will set our kids and our communities back by decades. Rossman knows that a caring government can create equalizers that help families and individuals acquire better economic futures, like a reliable and strong health system, like investments in childcare, like affordable post-secondary education, like community-oriented social services. Rossman believes, too, that truth and reconciliation is not a choice that we can opt out of. It is a necessary commitment we all must make to start the healing of our communities and the foundation of eliminating discrimination and racism in our society. Rossman believes in the importance of supporting our essential workers. Many of them are here today. Ensuring their safety and the reliability of their employment. Rossman understands that youth need to be engaged and inspired to become their dreams. How many of the youth are here today as well? Woo! To become what they dream of, to be artists, to be scientists, to be social workers, to be leaders, to be premiers, to be MLAs. Rossman is committed to ensure whatever your identities or our identities, that neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces are safe and inclusive. Finally, Rossman believes that elected officials need to work together with communities in governing and policy making. Since coming to Calgary many years ago, Rossman has acted on these beliefs through his work as a teacher, through his leadership in community organizations, in his active advocacies, and his silent volunteer work. So Calgary East deserves an MLA who will stand up for these beliefs, who will represent their communities and be a meaningful part of an NDP government that will work tirelessly to build a more prosperous, vibrant, just, and equitable Alberta. So I am here today with our good friend Lucille. We are nominating Rossman Valencia to be the official candidate for the Alberta New Democrats for Calgary East and be part of Rachel Notley's mighty team of committed and principled candidates. Woo!
Residents of Calgary East come from diverse backgrounds and experiences. Many work in the front lines of our economy, in the hospitals and classrooms of our public health care and education systems, in the storefronts of local businesses. Many come from families who have called this place home for many generations, while a large number are recent newcomers to Canada who have made Greater Forest Lawn their first home. Calgary East is where the issues that are shaping the politics of our province, jobs, income security, affordable housing, quality education, support to seniors, safe neighborhoods, are played out in the everyday lives of people. While we may not be high in the metrics of personal wealth, Calgary East's promise comes from the richness of our residents' life experiences and their willingness to build community. This is why Calgary East deserves a representative in our provincial legislature who can live up to this promise, who can work with us so that our voices are not only heard, but will help shape the direction of our province. This is why I strongly second the nomination of Rossman Valencia to be the official candidate of the Alberta New Democrats for Calgary East and the MLA coming up in waiting for Calgary East.
Okay. Magandang hapon. Good afternoon. I am immensely grateful for all of you who are here today to rally for Alberta's future. Your support means so much that it provides hope to the people of Calgary East and our province as a whole. Also, I would like to thank Elder Frank Turningrobe for blessing this historic event. I am hopeful that as a province and as a country, we treaty people will walk together, hand in hand, to reach genuine reconciliation, supported, guided, and directed by the stories of this land and its original inhabitants. And most importantly, the truth. Allow me to also extend my appreciation for our three excellent MLAs from Calgary. MLA Joe Cece from Calgary Buffalo, MLA Kathleen Ganley of Calgary Mountain View, and MLA Irfan Sabir of Calgary Buller McCall for their leadership and guidance, as well as the NDP MLAs and candidates all across Alberta for rallying with us. I would also like to sincerely thank our leader, Rachel Notley, for her tireless effort in fighting for all of us here. To the campaign team of Rossman Valencia for Calgary East, this journey will not begin and end with you. This campaign is our collective effort. To Cesar Cala and to Lucille Fedque for nominating me. And to my nephew, who makes me a better person every single day. Thank you for being here and for your support. To my sisters and my family for your encouragement and genuine love. To the Filipino-Canadian community who are here today. Maraming salamat, Pinoy naman! And most importantly, to the residents of Calgary East who deserve a more committed representation in the legislature. When I step foot in the soil of Mohkinstsis, colonially known as Calgary, I immediately feel the sense of belonging to this place that I now call home. This was intensified when I walked through the streets of Calgary East, where you will see a diversity of people who are resilient, spirited, and committed to bettering their lives and their communities by taking care of each other. I know that Calgary East is special to so many of you, and I believe that this community can thrive, flourish, and prosper, and be represented well under a government led by Rachel Notley and Alberta's NDP. It's clear we have faced many challenges over the last couple of years. The choices made by this current UCP government and their handling of the COVID-19 pandemic have made life very difficult for those in Calgary East and all Albertans. Many in our area are still feeling the effects of the pandemic and the terrible choices made by the UCP. Albertans deserve better. Calgary East deserves better than the UCP. Being an educator and community organizer, I had the opportunity to listen to a multitude of voices from Calgary East and other Calgarians. They all lead to one theme. The current government is a clear threat to our health and to our economic well-being. Many residents of Calgary East face food insecurity and job loss. Support is sorely lacking for seniors, for people with disabilities, and for folks facing homelessness. Many are burdened with skyrocketing rent and unaffordable insurance rates, overcrowded and underfunded schools, inaccessible mental health supports, and threats to our health care. And it doesn't help that Calgary East is suffering from ineffective representation from the mostly missing UCP MLA. I asked several Calgary East residents about what keeps them at night. The answers will crush your hearts. One resident shared that she worries endlessly on how she will pay for her utilities and rent from assured income for the severely handicapped. Her age payment does not supplement. It is a modest sacrifice according to our premier. However, this modest sacrifice means losing thousands of dollars for every Albertan with disabilities. Several parents responded that the robust curriculum of the UCP government keeps them up at night. They shared, "We need a curriculum that will prepare our children for the future. We just do not see that in the curriculum that they are proposing." A racialized mother also shared their thoughts about the curriculum and how othering it is, as it does not reflect the diversity of this province and country. They feel that they are not seen and there is no space for their children in this province. I conversed with numerous healthcare workers who are living in the area. They share that what keeps them up at night is how horrible the UCP government continually treats them. They are exhausted, overworked, and understaffed. They are running empty as they are being attacked on all fronts, from COVID-19 to the government that does not support the nurses, doctors, and frontline health workers. I also had the opportunity to have a dialogue with some other residents of this riding. What keeps them up at night is thinking about the safe consumption site and their anxious hope for a government that will increase and not decrease mental health supports in schools and communities. These residents firmly believe that strong mental health support will increase not only community safety, but also will improve the quality of life of the residents of Calgary East. These are just some of the stories and perspectives that we have encountered. We need these stories to be amplified because we know that the current government is not listening. It's clear that Albertans and Calgary East cannot trust the UCP. Since forming a government, the UCP have spent their time fighting doctors, nurses, teachers, municipal partners, and ever since, fighting amongst themselves. That is not leadership. Calgary East residents deserve a leader that they can trust and that they can identify with and that will stand for the things that are important to them. They yearn for a premier with a positive vision that will make our community towards a safe, resilient, equitable, and vibrant. Calgary East residents firmly believe that they deserve leaders that are trustworthy and have the best interest for their families and their communities. Like Rachel Notley, like Alberta's NDP. Rachel Notley is a trusted and tested leader. She leads with compassion, with competence, and she cares about our families. I support Rachel Notley in her leadership. She is committed to making Alberta welcoming to everybody. She champions public education and a curriculum that will bring us to the future and not back in the 1950s. She advocates for public health care system and the importance of keeping it public. She supports small businesses as she believes that Albertans can steer their own future. I believe that we can help this community thrive under the NDP, and I trust the NDP will work with us towards brighter future for the province that leaves no Albertan behind. That is why I am pleased to seek election as your next MLA for Calgary East with Alberta's NDP. Thank you. Thank you. I will ensure that this community has a strong voice in the legislature and be the representative that listens, rallies, and prioritizes the needs of the residents and families, no matter who they are, what race, gender and sexual orientation, demographics, religious background, and socioeconomic status they identify with. Most importantly, I am running to build a resilient and thriving Calgary East. Again, I am Rosman Valencia, a public school teacher, a community activist, and the next MLA of the Calgary East constituency. Thank you. Thank you. And now, Calgary friends, it is my greatest honor to call our hard-working leader, Rachel Notley.
Don't you ever be sad. Lean on me in times of bad. When the day comes and you're down and I'm in trouble and I'm back to drown, just hold on. I'm coming. Hold on. I'm coming. I'm on my way. Your lover. If you get cold, yeah, I will be your cover. Don't have to worry, 'cause I'm here. Don't need to suffer, baby, 'cause I'm here. Just hold on. I'm coming. Hold on. I'm coming. Hold on. I'm coming. Hold on, I'm coming. Look at it. Reach out to me for satisfaction, yeah. Look at here, Dave. That's all she got to do. Call my name.
Well, my friends, it is so, so good to see you all. Thank you all, and thank you, Rossman, for that amazing introduction, and thank you for stepping up to be here for the people of Calgary. Oh, wow, what a great crowd. This is quite amazing. So, you know, my friends, let me take you back a little ways. In March of 1972, just over 50 years ago, my dad rose in the House to deliver his response to the speech from the throne, his first as Alberta's leader of the NDP. Okay, we'll figure that out. Now, he spoke about the high cost of electricity and the importance of agriculture. He talked about the need for Alberta to take ownership of our resources and to exercise more responsibility as we develop them. He wanted the government to do more. Oh, you want it closer? Yeah. All right, okay, I'll take you. All right, we'll try that. How's that, better? Okay. Working out the bugs, my friends. Anyhow, he wanted the government to do more to fight poverty, as he didn't want to see Alberta, way back then, an Alberta where the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. And he stood and he defended the vigorous exchange of ideas that we call democracy. And he stood up and he said these words: "I am here to challenge the basic assumption. It's the difference between a passive philosophy of government and an activist view of government. Whether the government should plan ahead and anticipate problems or simply react when disaster strikes. Whether one backs public ownership with pride or backs into public ownership only when unavoidable. Passive government," he said, "passive government is bound to fail in this contemporary age we live in. Alberta needs an activist government." Now, my dad was the only NDP MLA in the legislature when he said that. So I can just imagine having to deliver that speech to 74 Conservatives of one type or another. And of course, he remained a one-man caucus for 10 more years, often joking, quite appropriately, that he led the only truly united caucus in the legislature. But you know, none of that bothered him, because my dad was a New Democrat, as fearless in his beliefs as he was fierce in defending them. And 50 years later, I believe that much of what he had to say then is still true about our party today. We believe in the value of public services and the value of public service. We don't react to disaster, we act to avoid it. And we don't just roll with the good times, we work to create them. We believe that government should be active in listening to the opinions and the priorities and the beliefs and the concerns of the people it is elected to serve, all of them, not just those who voted for them, but all of them. And we believe that not because it's an electoral tactic, we believe it because it's a principle, one that we are committed to upholding each and every day. And you know, I'll say something. My dad, he listened to people as a result of this, and he always did his best to help. And I grew up watching this, and that's why I still remember one night, you know, when Alberta Transportation accidentally backed into and over a farmer's fence, and the cows got out. Who got the angry phone call late Friday night after a long week in Edmonton? My dad. And who spent Friday night chasing around cattle in the middle of the night? My dad. Because New Democrats, my friends, we work hard and we believe we are elected to help people. And friends, I have to say, after being apart for so long, let me tell you, it feels great to be back in a room full of New Democrats. It's a room full of energy and purpose, ready to help, ready to campaign, and my friends, ready to win the next election. You know, the rooms that we used to gather in were a little smaller. I have to say, we've come a long way since 1972. I was 7 then, so I've grown at least an inch. But the fact is, through good times and bad, we have stood shoulder to shoulder fighting for what matters. Good jobs, good schools, strong public health care, and a more fair and just society. New Democrats, we don't leave people behind, we raise people up. And my friends, I have to say, as your leader, since 2014, it has been the privilege of my life to work every day for you and for your family. And I want to say that I am so incredibly fortunate to work alongside a team of passionate and talented Calgary MLAs like Joe Ceci, Kathleen Ganley, and Irfan Sabir. And very soon, here in Calgary East, Rosman Valencia. And let me just talk a bit about Rosman. You know, he's a fantastic leader, a teacher, a community activist, someone who stands out the moment you meet him. He's led initiatives to welcome refugees to our city. He's led initiatives to protect the rights of LGBTQ2S+ Calgarians to live and to love. He's so proud of his city and he is so excited by Calgary's future. Rosman has the courage of his convictions. And he, of course, will be a tremendous voice for this community when he is elected, but he really needs all of us to elect him to an NDP government. Oh, I love the sound of that. You know, it's funny, because Jason Kenney, you might have heard, was caught on tape recently threatening to quit and talking about his party members, calling them lunatics, kooks, bugs. Bold move for a guy who's a little short on friends, I'd say. But you know, it kind of got me thinking, because I wonder, am I somehow out of the political mainstream? Because, you know what? To be honest, I really like you guys. Actually, scratch that. I love this party. This is the party I grew up in. This is the party my dad helped build. And this is the party that all of us call home. And together, this party is going to put the dark, regressive days of the UCP behind us and lead Alberta into a brighter tomorrow. Because you know, my friends, while times have been tough, for the first time in a while, I am starting to believe that there is light on the horizon. You know, I want to think back just a bit to our 2015 and our first NDP government. In a province of booms and busts, it was pretty clear we were heading down to the bottom of that roller coaster again. Now, contrary to what the UCP to this day still likes to say, we could not actually control the international price of oil. We could, however, control how we choose to handle it. And after the conservative era of squandering the boom times and making the bust worse, we chose the path of protecting people, of building and diversifying the economy and preparing Alberta for the future. And there is so much that I am proud of and that all of you should be proud of too. We introduced a world-leading Made in Alberta climate change plan that cut pollution, phased out coal emissions, and expanded renewable energy, all while securing the first pipeline to Tidewater in more than 50 years. We created tens of thousands of jobs, good jobs, by diversifying our economy through petrochemicals, new technology, and a historic program of building badly needed, long overlooked schools throughout communities, building roads and badly needed infrastructure. We made life more affordable for families, not less affordable, because we protected them from rising utility costs and rising insurance costs. We invested in our schools and our hospitals and in the universities and colleges and institutes that help Albertans fulfill their dreams. And we made Alberta workplaces safer, and we made sure no one made a penny less than $15 an hour. We fought poverty, we fought racism, we fought for the fundamental human rights each and every Albertan is born with, and in the middle of a recession, the worst in decades, we cut child poverty in half. And I want to thank all of you, for your contributions to making all of that happen. And listen, for those of us who were actually elected during that time, the other thing we need is that we also made mistakes. We were not perfect by any means. But I'll say this, they were honest mistakes. We admitted them, and we did everything we could to learn from them. And even through that process, we never gave up and we never left Albertans to fend for themselves. And I want you to know this is something that's very important to me. Through good times and bad, I am with you and your family every step of the way. My team and I will always put Albertans first. Now, this is the same view that we carried with us into opposition. In the last election, fact is, Albertans asked us to be their voice, to oppose, but also to propose. And we've put forward many concrete proposals to do many things since 2019, a number of hefty policy papers focused on diversifying our economy and our energy economy. Among many of them, we've got a paper on hydrogen and energy development, paper on carbon fiber manufacturing, a paper on geothermal drilling opportunities, and I'm just going to pull them out here and read them to you verbatim now. Actually, I will not do that. I am kidding. But yeah, okay, settle down. But you know who did read them and endorse them? Organizations like the Canadian Geothermal Energy Association and the Canadian Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association. And why? Because NDP ideas are good economic policy. And while the UCP watched Calgary and the rest of Alberta fall behind in the tech boom, we've been standing with entrepreneurs and tech companies like Beamdog and New World Interactive to propose a whole suite of incentives to create jobs and accelerate these industries. And just yesterday, Joe Ceci and I presented a plan to raise up downtown Calgary. It's a plan that we built through extensive consultation with everybody from the business community to post-secondary to the arts to community groups and many, many more. A bold plan for the people of this city. The fact is, our opposition caucus is focused on righting wrongs and helping people. See the theme that's going through here? And how did we do that? Well, we stood with Calgarian Selena Thibault, whose utility bills in January and February were more than $400 each. And U of C student Chase Coombs, whose student debt is higher than ever thanks to the UCP. And construction worker Michael Dunn, who spoke out against the watering down of safety standards on his job site. And when the UCP clawed back funding from victims of crime, well, we stood with Emma Nikolai Wilson, a survivor of sexual assault who was denied her claim. We fought and continue to fight for Albertans living with disabilities like Mary Salvini and Kaveen Sheikh Ladin, who have less and less every month because of the UCP's broken promise to index AISH. We speak out for parents like Matt Beauchamp, whose family has been searching for childcare for their 2 children in Calgary for months. And when the UCP ripped up the coal policy and threatened our mountains with mines, we stood with Calgarians and Albertans who were against this disastrous plan, and I in particular remember standing with Adam North Pagan, chair of the Mountain Child Valley Society, proud member of Piikani First Nation and a great Albertan, and we told the UCP to get their hands off the eastern slopes, the places that Alberta families cherish, and the ancestral lands of the First Peoples. And when the UCP took the history of residential schools out of their ridiculous K-6 draft curriculum, we stood with Nicole Robertson from Tsuut'ina First Nation to say children should know the truth about Canada's past because that is the only way to achieve true reconciliation. We joined Edmonton teacher Justin Swanson when the UCP put forward a back-to-school plan that had 0 protections for his students, and when Jason Kenney took away PUF funding for 5-year-olds with serious learning disabilities, we stood with Hope Ruddocks from the Chinook Autism Society in Lethbridge to fight for those children to get the support they need to learn and live healthy lives. We called for leadership. We called for leadership in healthcare throughout this pandemic, as you know. And when the UCP was boozing it up on the Sky Palace patio, well, we stood with frontline nurses and health workers like Erin Boyd and Rihanna Teskey in Calgary and Joanne Clooney in Fort McMurray, who were exhausted, begging the UCP to stop their privatization and to support them. And when the UCP... And when the UCP continued to chase doctors away, we stood with Dr. Darren Markland at the Royal Alexander Hospital to call for an end to chaos in healthcare. And we called for more support for small businesses like Bread Love in St. Albert, the Starlight Room in Edmonton, and the Palomina Smokehouse right here in Calgary, all trying so hard to stay afloat and comply with ever-changing health orders, waiting endlessly for the help that sometimes and sometimes didn't ever arrive. We listened to Cold Lake mom Melissa Crone, whose 8-year-old daughter had been suffering from long COVID symptoms since last fall. And while Jason Kenney refused to take responsibility for the consequences of his disastrous best summer ever, we stood with tens of thousands of Albertans who lost their surgeries, who were forced to wait in pain and uncertainty. Albertans like Scott Wynot, whose heart bypass was delayed 3 times. And Fort Saskatchewan mother Jennifer Wood, whose daughter Robin was born with a rare condition that means, in simple terms, she burns significantly more calories than a typical kid. And at 16 months old, she was struggling greatly to maintain her weight. She needed a feeding tube urgently, but her surgery had been postponed indefinitely. And the consequences of that were life-altering. And Jennifer, she told me that her daughter's hips would remain unstable and that her overall development was going to be delayed and put at risk. And for the parents in this room, you can imagine the stress and the fear that would have been in her voice when she was telling me about that. So we stood behind her and we raised her voice. And you know what? Baby Robin got her feeding tube. And that, my friends, is the example of real change in real people's lives that New Democrats can and do make. And that is what my dad was talking about 50 years ago. But, my friends, you know, that is not what we have from our government today. Oh, no, no. We see a very different approach taken by Jason Kenney and the divided Conservatives. A toxic cocktail of infighting and instability and, let's be honest, incompetence. And I can't even follow the web of scandals anymore, but I'm going to give it a go. The former health minister who yelled at doctors in their driveways is now the justice minister because the former justice minister tried to fix his own traffic ticket. So now he's the labor minister because the labor minister had to replace the health minister after the agriculture minister resigned for harassing his staff, and the municipal affairs minister flew to Hawaii against public health orders. Not bad. There's more, but I got some of it. Now, the UCP leadership drama, it's also getting a little complicated. The former Wildrose leader turned UCP MLA thinks the Premier is cheating because the Premier is under RCMP investigation for voter fraud because the Premier and a former Wildrose president ran a kamikaze campaign in 2017 to steal democracy. So, the former Wildrose leader now wants a leadership race where another former Wildrose leader also wants to run, except no one trusts her because she crossed the floor to the PCs, and meanwhile, 19 other PCs and Wildrose floor crossers signed a letter saying they want to keep the Premier because he's just the best chance they have of holding on to power before an election, just so they can have another leadership race again. You know, my friends, does any of that sound like it's about you? And can anyone follow this drama anymore? Does anyone really want to? Do they want to keep tuning in to this soap opera week after week after week? I don't think so. You know what I think? I think it's time to cancel the show. So, my friends, you know, our province, it's at a crossroads. We have important decisions ahead of us. We can have a government that's scrambling to react, unable to help themselves, much less the people of Alberta. Or a government that acts with purpose, thoughtfulness, credibility, authenticity to help make life better for Albertans. Friends, the fact is that team is right here in this room. That team is Alberta's NDP. Our team is capable, it's experienced, it's trusted. In fact, according to those 19 former PC and Wildrose MLAs who support the Premier, we are, and I quote, disciplined, organized, and well-funded. Side note, we can always be better funded. There may be a second pitch coming on, folks, just letting you know. But the fact is, we know the job and we are doing the hard work of creating a vision for our future that is as bold as the people of this province. Because make no mistake, my friends, this recovery that Albertans have been working so hard for, it is fragile. And if left in the hands of Jason Kenney and the UCP, it will slip away. And we can't let that happen. Friends, I believe that my dad was right. Albertans are proud of their public health system, their public school system, and the public ownership of the resources that we all own under the ground. And they want a government that will act to protect those things. Friends, that better government is us. We will create new jobs. We will create jobs in new industries and new technology and new forms of energy. And we will protect the blue-collar, heavy industrial jobs that are rightly the source of so much pride in this province. And we will protect the public services that make life better for people. Our healthcare system will be strong and public. We will attract healthcare professionals, not drive them away. In our Alberta, nurses like Erin and Rihanna and Joanne can focus on their jobs because they're respected. So patients like Scott and baby Robin get the care they need. In our Alberta, Justin's students get more support in the classroom. Selena can pay her utility bills. Matt can find childcare for his kids. Chase can afford his tuition. Mary gets her disability benefits. And Mike feels safe at work. So my friends, that's what our Alberta looks like. At this crossroads, we choose the path where Alberta takes action, where our economy is strong and resilient and ready for the next leap forward, where families and children are supported, where your health comes first, where leaders work for you, not themselves. The fact is, I know I have my work cut out for me. Former premiers don't often get a second chance. And I don't know who the premier will be next year. To be honest, I don't think we know who it will be 6 weeks from now. It's another matter entirely. But I do know one thing. I will be there. And I know that some will say that we can't do it, but friends, just like my dad said just a little over 50 years ago, I am here to challenge that assumption. The stakes are high, but I know we can do it. Our team is active and it's growing. Our party has more members than ever before in our history, more volunteers, more donors, more resources to campaign and win, whether the election is called next month or next year. And we are building a team that is dedicated to achieving these big goals. In fact, let me introduce to you to some of your next Calgary and area NDP MLAs who'll be joining Joe, Kathleen, and Irfan. Because we have behind us, we have award-winning medical researcher and neurologist Dr. Luann Metz. Anti-poverty advocate Janet Aramanko. Energy analyst and strategic consultant Samir Kayende. Educational assistant Julia Hayter. Realtor, community advocate Parmeet Singh. Business owner and college instructor Gurinder Brar. Military veteran and Indigenous advocate Marilyn North Pagan. And once more, my friends, teacher and community organizer Rossman Valencia. We are united, we are strong, this is your movement, this is your NDP, we are the vehicle of progressive change, so don't stop organizing, don't stop giving. Wear your NDP orange proudly because our province's best days are ahead of us. Together we can chart that path. We have the plan, we have the people, most importantly, we have you. Thank you so much all for everything that you do. Thank you all for coming.
Watching. Alberta's NDP is working hard to build Alberta's future and to build a future that involves all Albertans. The momentum is building. If you want to be part of it, join us at albertasndp.ca.